Okay, first of all, welcome, Mavis. It's an absolute delight to contact you, to make a link with you. Being so distant that we are, and yet so close as we are in spirit as well.
Absolutely.
And as you know, that our organisation, the SSMPI and the magazine TOSP, has been growing exponentially worldwide. And I think bringing yourself on to chat to us today and to chat to other people, we're very blessed to have you and your experience. And I think, as far as I know, that your experiences have been a little bit different to everybody else in your way that you've developed, or the way that you came to spirit. If you want to tell us a wee bit about that.
I believe so. Well, I never saw the spirit world as a little girl. I never talked to them. I never had any happenings at all. I actually was quite a nervous child. And so I was kind of cosseted as a little girl. So never in all the years did I ever hear anything about mediumship. I was Church of England confirmed. So, so I used to go to confirmation and do the whole thing, the whole religious thing. So I was quite happy as a child, as a little girl growing up. And it wasn't until I was sick, I was very, very ill, that I first saw the spirit world. And at the time I was under the medical profession. And this man appeared in my room and he said, "Go find a healer or you won't hear the New Year bells."
Wow.
So that was my introduction to spirit communication.
And how did you feel, Mavis, when that actually happened? Being that you came from, like myself, I was brought up a Roman Catholic. My uncle was a monk in a monastery. You have that indoctrination. How did you feel, being as ill as you were, that experience? Did it frighten you? Did it shock you, or did you feel some kind of calm?
I think I was stunned.
Right.
I just literally was stunned. And then when I got my head round it, I thought, well, my mind's gone now. So it must be attacking my brain. Because they hadn't found out what was wrong with me at all. I just had a hysterectomy. And they said they'd removed everything. And then I still went downhill. So I was really very sick and on a lot of drugs. So I think I'm one of the few that went for a brain scan to make sure I was normal. So that was really my beginning, which was quite traumatic. But then, of course, I couldn't close the door.
Okay, because you had made that connection.
Yeah, family would come in and I'd say, "Oh, don't sit there, my granddad's there," and "Oh, you can't do that because my grand's there." So I was quite a menace, really, to the family because the family didn't know what to do with me.
No, forgive me for interrupting, but I think it's an important point to make, because there's a lot of people who are developers and mediums, and they'll say that I see someone there, and half the time you and I know subjectively they're seeing. But it sounds like you actually, Mavis, you saw them objectively outside of your own perception, your consciousnness, that you could see them all. Yeah, I think that's important to notice.
It was a bright sunny day,
wow.
And this guy just appeared. No smoke, no ectoplasm. He just wasn't there, and then he was there, just behind the television. And he came round and he said, "Go find a healer, or you won't hear the New Year bells."
That's amazing.
And then he was gone. But then, of course, I couldn't close it down at all. So it became a problem for the family. And eventually I found a spiritualist church in my hometown in Middleton, and I started to go there. And I also found a spiritual healer. So I started to have healing, and I started to go to the church. And of course, I walked in the church and I felt as if I was at home, as if I'd come home from a long journey. And when you say about the calm, that was when I started to feel the calm.
You felt that you'd arrived home.
Yeah. So that's really how it began. And then fortunately for me, I met a wonderful man called Mr. Brocas, who was the president of the church in Middleton. And he wasn't a medium. He was a speaker, and he was a philosopher. And he was an investigator. That's what he did. And he took me under his wing, And then I met Gordon Higginson, and he took me under his wing. So I was very, very
You were
fortunate that I had
fortunate
a
to
lot
have
of help.
very good teachers and very good guides, if you
And
like.
and I was complaining that, Mr. Brooks would say to me, now, you don't see the spirit world all the time, Mavis. You don't. And I'd say, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And he once sent me a little photograph through the post, and it was of a little boy praying with one eye open. And he said, does that remind you of anybody? And of course, it was me that really, I think I might have been afraid that if I didn't see them, they would go.
Yeah,
So
I think
fear,
that happens with a lot of people, and especially when I had experiences and my wife had experience and other mediums that I know had experiences, there is that fear that what you've experienced you might lose, and that it's never going to be there, and you won't feel that inner calm again.
Yes, I think that's quite right. And then, of course, you've got your other battle going on at the same time, because was this against my religion? Because they didn't believe in communication, and they didn't believe in a lot of the things. So I had that battle as well, but I still didn't want to let go of them. Okay. And then I went into development circle, got thrown out of development circle because I was a disruptive influence, because I couldn't sit in meditation.
Don't hold anything back. Tell us the truth.
I just couldn't settle. I just couldn't meditate for 45 minutes and be still, partly because of my illness, but also partly because my mind was fluttering everywhere, and I was seeing the spirit world, and they were interesting, and I didn't want my eyes closed, because if I had my eyes closed, I didn't see them. I had to have my eyes open. So I went through all that, and eventually managed to, with the help of Gordon, managed to start to develop it properly. Can you see me clearly?
I can see you. A couple of times you've broken, but we'll just carry on because we'll work through it. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Okay. So without Gordon, of course, I don't know what would have happened to me. But Gordon took me under his wing and started to look after me, and I used to go down to Longton Church. That was Gordon Higginson's church. I used to go every week for that. So I had training every week. And slowly but surely the mediumship developed, but it was still objective.
Right.
It was still objective. So I would get up on a platform and I'd say, I've got your father here, he stood behind you. Or, and I'd know exactly where the person was. Until one day I went to do a demonstration and nothing happened.
Oh.
I didn't see them, I didn't hear them. But I got this sensitivity, and this power just opened up. And I started to feel them, and then I started to have little visions.
Right. Subjective visions.
Absolutely. And of course, what had happened then, it had gone subjective.
Right.
So if the ground could have opened me up and swallowed me that day, I would have willingly have gone.
Because I can imagine you standing there and so being used to seeing objectively and given such information that when it goes, you're kind of standing there like a lost soul, and
Absolutely.
You know what's going to happen.
Yes, but I think I'd become a bit arrogant, because I used to stand up and say I'm an objective medium and I see the spirit world and I hear them. I own the show, kind of thing.
It's interesting, Mavis. I think a lot of good mediums go through that. I think we get to a point where we get a little bit arrogant, and then we get taught a lesson. I remember once at a demonstration and somebody asking me and saying, yeah, I'm a natural medium, and it didn't go down too well in Swansea Spiritualist Church, I can tell you that much. And I was very quickly told off by my wife, in fact. So yeah, I think we all go through it, but it's amazing to see that you're also going through all the same problems that everybody else has gone through.
I think we all go through the problem. I like Catherine Cookton's statement when she says, "God's a blind miller. He grinds us all exceedingly small, and then we become good food for other people."
That's brilliant, actually. That is really
I
good.
love it. I love it. And when I feel as if I'm getting a bit uppity with myself, I just think of that, and I think, no, come down to earth. Stay on earth.
And did you also ever have, because I know, and I know many people who are developing who are going to be watching this, young mediums coming through, we can talk about them later, but do you think that you ever came to a point where you thought, I can't do this, I'm never going to be good enough, I'm never going to hear the way that I used to hear, or I'm never going to see the way that I used to see, and I've lost it, and you kind of pull yourself back?
Well, yes, to the degree where I did pull back, and I came away for 12 months.
Wow.
Because it just wasn't running true for me. Because what I would get is I'd get symbology of my mother, and
Yeah.
I'd see, and I'd know that that was the spirit talking to me. But because it was subjective, it just confused me. I didn't like the idea of having to interpret it all. Because you'd guess a symbol and then you'd have to work it through. And I don't believe that's mediumship in its true sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I came away, I stepped away. And I think during that period, I learnt faith and belief.
Now that's an important factor, because I think that a lot of people that take a sabbatical, if you like, sometimes they don't recognise that it's the spirit that's made them take a sabbatical, because they're needing to grow a little bit more. They're needing to get maybe a little bit more experience, or they're needing to get to the point where they can have trust and faith, not only in the spirit but in themselves. And I think every medium on that path probably goes through the same process.
Yes, I mean, when you get it at the beginning, it's just evidence, evidence, evidence. And we lose the actual miracle of communication, where it's a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And that every time we get on our feet, we are privileged to be part of a miracle.
And do you think so many people forget that aspect? Not only the mediums, but the people who are hearing from their loved ones forget how much of a blessing and how much of a miracle that actually is.
Absolutely. And the faith in the spiritual values that we have to have. And it changed, well, it'll have changed your religion, it changed my understanding of religion completely.
Absolutely.
And being personally responsible. I mean, we are personally responsible for everything we do. What worries me about the mediums is I'm not sure that they recognise that one day they're going to go to the spirit world.
Yeah.
And they don't want a queue of people over there saying, "You took my name in vain."
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a problem, that we're not actually preparing our mediums for their next life.
I think you're right, and I think that's something that we've talked about and kind of talked a little bit on before when we've spoken, is the relationship that mediums have, not only with themselves but with the spirit world, and with the spiritual law of responsibility. Absolutely. And how if they are not ready, and that they can actually damage someone in a sitting if they're not able to get the information, give the right information that's going to help that soul move on, or is going to help that spirit to start maybe a healing process in their lives. I think that I see now many times, I've seen it here in America, and I'm sure it's just as bad as I know I've seen it in the UK as well, that many people go to readings and it seems to be that they want to go there and it's for a show, or they go to church for a show. One of the things that I think we spoke about before was I used to get a little bit pulled back from the church aspect of it, because people, I thought, were forgetting how divine it was and how much of a blessing it was to be in the church and to give thanks and to hear the Spirit. And then mediums think it's so cool, or even young mediums coming up that are not ready. And I've had people come to me and say, I had a sitting with someone and they damage me more than ever. I feel worse for it. I don't feel uplifted. I don't feel healed. They told me this, many different aspects that really made me worse. Surely, that's the wrong way for a medium to move forward.
Yes, whether we don't teach the philosophical, the ethics of mediumship, I don't know. Mediumship's a ministry, and we minister unto two worlds. That's what we do. And you see, you're talking about it from here, and the medium's doing harm here, but in the world of the spirit, if you abuse that connection, you may put someone off ever trying again.
Right, exactly.
And I think people, I wonder how many people in the spirit world would love to try, but they have had a bad experience through a medium
they don't come through
from their world.
Yeah.
So if mediums are actually looking at it from both sides, then they may start to recognize the ministry. Because it is a ministry. Once you take this responsibility, you're ministering unto two worlds, not one world.
It's amazing to hear you say that, because I know I don't know everything, and even now I've never considered it as deep as ministering to both sides. I have on a number of occasions. It's something that I've worked through, and I think a lot of mediums are more concerned with the materialistic, the perceptive aspect of the earth plane, and forget about those in the spirit, because they think, well, it's down to them to communicate. They can communicate if they want or not, but tend to feel that they still have emotions in the spirit. They still have feeling in the spirit. And maybe it's time that our mediums went back to school and started to learn to minister to both sides and not just the one.
Well, I think we've to start talking about it, to start talking about ministry, and to talk about that it's a vocation. If you use it correctly, it becomes your life experience. It's a vocation, and it's not going to put a lot of money in your pocket. It should put enough on for your bread and for your board.
Right.
And it's becoming, I've noticed it, well, I'm out of work, so if I do this, it'll give me a living.
So you think it becomes more of a job for people, a 9-to-5 job and not a vacation?
Absolutely. And I do know we have to have food on our table and clothes on our backs. I know that, and I'm not against that. It's just that I think for some of them that are only starting out, it makes them rush too much. Where we had years.
Yeah.
These youngsters don't have the years because they're out of work. So
it's an easy way for them to get a few pounds in their pocket, because if they're kind of intuitive, and that leads on to the other problem is that sometimes they're not even connecting with the spirit.
Well, I think that if you've got children and you've got a sensitivity and you can put food on your children's table, you're not going to think about it as a ministry.
No.
You're going to think about it as a means to an end. And hopefully when they're settled and everything's coming up, then they'll start to do the courses.
Yeah.
They'll start to understand the philosophy, and that will bring in that other side, that other aspect of them. I mean, to a degree, I feel sorry for our mediums today, because I love communicating with the spirit world. What our young mediums are taught is they've got to produce evidence. And they've got to produce this evidence. So that lovely communication between the two worlds, that rapport of letting them be themselves, the characteristics, the personality, that's gone now. They've got to come up with the evidence. And I'm not altogether sure that that's the way we should be taking them. I think we should be talking about the communication skill, the feeling, that the spirit world should feel us in their world as we feel them in here. And getting the unity together again.
Yeah.
For me, you see, what you're talking about is people with a sensitivity, but the mind is taking over, which
Yeah.
won't allow the flowering of the mediumship properly.
Exactly. The mind gets in the way, and they pick it, and it becomes more of their own perception.
Oh, absolutely.
And their own belief. And I mean,
Absolutely.
here's the thing. Personally, and my feeling is that evidence is an important aspect, but it should be balanced enough to be able to feel the spirit, to understand the spirit, because evidence without having the connection and the communication is nothing. It's just you're given information, but you need to be able to feel that it's real. You need to be able to feel that that was my uncle, that was my son or my daughter that passed, because the feeling was there, the emotion was there. It almost feels like spirit and you have joined as one and brought together a big hug. Where it's, I think there's, personally in my view, there's too much of a white paper, if you like, that you have to try and achieve, and we tend to forget all the other aspects and relationships around it. And that's one of the things that we've tried to, certainly from the SSMPI as we're moving forward, is trying to bring evidence and the spirit together and none of the clinical stuff. To remove the clinics out of the way.
Yeah. If you communicate with the world of the spirit, the evidence will be wrapped up in the communication.
Exactly.
Rather than you thinking, I've got to get when they died, I've got to know this, I've got to know that. And all this going back for more evidence, there's no room for communication. There's no room for that spirit to be able to just say, look, I just want to tell them I love them.
Right. And so that feeling has gone.
Yeah, you're asking me for my name and address when all I want to do is say I love her and thank you for putting my photograph up.
But I think, here's the thing I think which is great, is you're just mentioning thank you for putting my photograph up. If you have that as part of the communication, to me that's good evidence.
Yeah.
Like I was with you when you were putting my photograph up and you were wearing this and you pulled a hanky from your pocket or whatever it was. I think that to me is good evidence, but it's good connection with the spirit. It's understanding the feeling. Whereas there's a lot of things that would be perceived as great evidence, but with no feeling, and it would be normal.
Absolutely, and we're seeing more and more and more of that. We're seeing more of it.
What would you attribute that to? What would you attribute that to? A failure in our teachings, or a failure in life itself, the way that it's developed?
I'd have to put it down to our teachings.
Right, excellent.
And I'm guilty for that. I won't. I would include myself in that. That when we started out, you're young, aren't you? And you lead people the way you are. And it's only when you actually look back in hindsight you can see the mistakes you make. You can't see it at the time. So, I would have to say that if I had my time over again in hindsight, I would take longer in awareness and in blending and in the philosophy, rather than saying, come on, get up on platform or do a one-to-one. If in hindsight I would do that. That's what I'm doing now. But I wish I'd have done that, 30 years ago.
And so it's one of the things that I've noticed, that the philosophical side of things is kind of lost. And I used to, when we would demonstrate, when we would be in the church, I loved the philosophy. I thought it was fantastic. And I used to, and you don't see that anymore, because they just want to get up there and just give it.
Absolutely.
And there doesn't seem to be that rapport.
And the other thing, they sit and they come to me, give me some information before I get up. I'm not getting up until you give me something because I'm too nervous. There's so much self in it that they don't let go. They don't let go. They just don't let go. And really, when you look at that, all that tangling of nerves actually stops the flow of power. Where if we can get the flow of power moving in an inpouring and an outpouring, then the spirit world will communicate as soon as you get on your feet. You know, they don't need to tap you on the shoulder and say we're ready.
Or hi, I'm
You know.
here.
So that's how I look at it. Okay.
How would you feel?
Sorry for young mediums, because they've got now to put up with the television.
Yeah.
They've got all this Facebook stuff. It's like instant coffee now.
Yeah.
You know, it's too instant.
And I think a lot of people they spend too much time online, on Facebook, on everything else. They're wasting their days, they're wasting their time when they could actually be. I mean, I've always said to people, and I've said it recently to a colleague who mentioned, I meditate 7 days a week, Jock, and why am I not getting anything? And I said, well, because you're meditating 7 days a week. You need to maybe just spend the time with the Spirit and live your life, but live it in a mindful moment and see the miracle in every day. And blend the two worlds together naturally rather than forcing it. I've always said that when you push a door, you push it away from you. When you stand under a waterfall, you can't capture the water and keep it forever. It has to dissipate. You have to become part of it. And I think a lot of people miss that aspect out, and everything's in a rush. Everything's in a rush. We're always in a rush to do something.
And you know, and I'm always saying to mine, I hope you grow up on no's. Because then they won't mean anything and you'll go further into the communication. Instead of thinking the yeses prove you are a medium, the yes will never prove you're a medium.
Now that's interesting. What would you say to a young medium coming up? Yes, that proves that you are mediumistic or you're a medium. Because I think a lot of them don't understand that aspect.
Well, I certainly think that when you're in the presence of a medium and they're actually communicating with the spirit world, you know the presence of the spirit is with them. That's what I'm meaning.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to have that feeling of the presence. I've just done some work somewhere, and I won't mention any names. And one girl, she had such convincing evidence that wasn't evidence because it was just her mind.
Right.
And yet, if she'd have just have waited a little and got the presence of the spirit in, then it would have improved that information 100 times. But you couldn't feel the presence. I think you can look at the auric field and you can see the mediumistic. I know that over the years, the development of, I call it the necklace, so I look at the necklace, and that will light up for me and show me. It'll show me, but it'll show me the potential. It won't show me that they are.
Right, it just shows you they have that potential.
And I don't think that, I don't think me telling anybody they're a medium will make them believe they're a medium, only when they touch the spirit.
Yeah, and I think it's like an awakening. You have to be woken up to the spirit because we're all asleep.
Absolutely. I think we can tell them forevermore that you're a medium, but until they feel it for themselves and they have that knowledge that they felt that and it actually was reality.
Yeah.
A medium's reality. I don't think you ever get really to the point where you can say you can tell someone they're a medium.
And
the potential there.
I think you're right, and I think it's really down for spirit to do the work rather than you to tell them. You can see that everybody has a potential. Everybody has an ability to communicate. And I think people misunderstand that, and a lot of young mediums come through. Do you think then that we have? Let me think. Have we spoiled the word medium? Have we kind of taken it away from the context of what it used to be?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've taken it away completely. I think that what we've done, I mean, you look at the way we live now is totally different. Instant coffee, just take that one, and computers. So everything now is so instant that mediumship has got to look like that.
Right.
And those who are seeking to be the true minister of in mediumship, they will step back and they will train and they will learn and they will take guidance, and then they will know they're ready.
Do you ever have, now that you've had so many years experience, Mavis, do you still get the feelings that I'm not worthy, I don't think I can do it, or are you totally at that level now with, okay guys, I'm just like you, bring it on?
No, because I have bad dems and bad private sittings, and I stamp my feet, and I can come off platform, and I can think, God, Mavis, where were you tonight? All right. So no, I don't think so. I don't think mediumship ever stabilizes. I think it's always in a movement, so it's always in an ebb and flow. So sometimes the mediumistic side will rise. And it'll be very strong, and you'll come off and you'll think, yes, that was a good night, because I felt
good.
The spirit,
Yeah.
you know. And then I can come off at other nights and I can say to Jean, oh my God, it was like pulling teeth.
Oh, listen, we've had that.
You know, and this is what, 40 odd years on. So no, I don't think that I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm on the road. And what the wonderful thing about mediumship is, it's a journey, but there's no destination.
Do you know, that's an amazing way to put it. It is a journey, and it's a journey that you have a free will to pick up, and you have to know that along that journey you're going to have your ups and downs, and you're not always going to be on your top form. And the destination, well, we never know where it is. I don't think we really, you know, it's one of these things that's why we pick up. It's an adventure. It definitely is an adventure. And I think, you know, you've had so much experience in your life and so much experience with mediumship. And it's nice to see that you still have an inner battle with yourself as well. And I think that's going to help a lot of other young mediums that are coming up, because obviously we need mediums to come up. We need new, you know, as they say, new blood coming through, so that we can bring the two worlds together in the right fashion, in the right way, with the right feeling. But it's also good to know that we're allowed to be human as well, even though we're spirit, having a human experience. It's nice to know that we can actually be human, and we can have those days where we don't feel right or we don't think we're at top form. It's good to know that even the best of the best that's out there have the same problem.
Yes, I wonder what the best of the best really is.
Well, I bet you Gordon Higginson's over the other side as well.
I'll be over there. I don't, you know, I'm not sure. I know some people, when I meet some people and they seem to be, I'm meeting Mavis Pitilla, it makes me cringe really, because I think, well, that to a degree is the Mavis Pitilla that is the spirit rising within me. But if you saw me when I'm on a bad day, when I'm knocking about and I'm fed up and I've got a tantrum, because I have tantrums, I'm a Virgo, so I have a lot of tantrums. Okay. You know, so, you know, I just don't think people recognise that there is still, that the human being is still as strong as it ever was. And we rise the power through that human being to produce that opportunity for the spirit world to work.
It's almost like because of your experience and your name, it holds this idea of, I'm seeing Mavis Pitilla, it's going to be amazing and it's going to be awesome. And then they maybe get disappointed because they think, well, there's Mavis Pitilla, and well, she's just like my granny, and she's just the same as everybody else. And that was good or that was bad. And I think people have got to realise that mediums are also human, and mediums are allowed to, you know, we feel emotion the same way as everybody else. Absolutely. And we have good days and bad days.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing is, though, you know, when they say, oh, I've come to see you demonstrate because everybody's been talking about you. And you think, oh, my God, what are they expecting? And then when you come off platform and they walk past you, you think, well, they didn't think much. But that's life. That's life. That's life.
It's. Can you share with some of the readers as well what has been your greatest successes and your greatest failures that you see? Well, I mean, I don't see anything as a failure. I see it as an opportunity to grow. But what do you perceive as being your greatest successes?
I think my greatest success is the mentorship program I run.
And anybody who wants to develop can develop under you that way.
Yeah. I can see our young mediums, and I can see them on platform now, and I can see them travelling to different countries, and I can see them being good ministers.
And that's what's missing, is the ministerial side of things. It's very similar to Colin and I were talking about.
For me, that's what's missing. We it doesn't matter whether you sit exams or you don't. We minister unto two worlds, and that's mediumship. So what is my worst thing? I think my worst thing must have been that day that I felt I was quite good enough to do a lecture. And I went to do this lecture, and I was asked questions that I couldn't answer because I didn't have enough knowledge. And I just wanted the ground to open and swallow me.
I think, that happens with everybody who's teaching or everybody who's doing. There's always going to be someone that's going to ask you something. But, do you see that as a failure? I don't see that as a failure. I see that as a strength, because you recognised it and
Absolutely.
you worked on with it. I've always said to people, as I said before, I don't believe in mistakes in life. I believe they're missed opportunities for growth. So,
well, it was very embarrassing.
There's been a lot of growing.
Very embarrassing that I hadn't got the answers because they were very philosophical, but I was very young. And we've got to make room for the young, and they will make mistakes, and they will sometimes not do it as we want it done. But they're only young, and I think the one thing you and I have to remember is that we were young. And we made mistakes.
We did the same thing. And to be honest, I can't say that I don't make mistakes now. We're always growing. I think I have a great passion for what I do, but to me, it's a ministry. To me, it's a divine purpose that I'm fulfilling. And to be able to bring spirit through to someone, to help them, to give them that evidence they need, to give them that connection, to make them feel like they've got loved ones that really feel they were there, that's the greatest gift that you can give in the world. And I think, Silver Birch just was the epitome of that. The greatest gift we can give is service. And I tend to think that a lot of upcoming mediums forget that. And I just say not even mediums, but a lot of upcoming healers, mediums, writers, anybody in any way of life tend to forget that. They tend to forget that we give service to everyone.
Yes, I think that at the beginning I didn't. What we say, you see, when people come to us, we'll say, well, don't grieve too much because we'll prove life after death. Don't you do anything, we'll do that for you. And then somebody comes and they're sick and we say, well, don't worry, we'll send you to a healer. Don't do anything, just go to the healer. So we start off by saying that we are in service to them. And then when they start to develop, they can carry that on because it's a thought that's being promoted. And how often do you hear people say, well, don't worry about it because the spirit world will do it.
Yeah.
So we actually are not saying what they need to put into it. You've got to put your soul into it, haven't you?
Exactly. And I think it's amazing that you say that, because when we launched the Otherside Press to be a spiritual vehicle, a kind of public vehicle of education, I never ever wanted to write a column. I was just going to give it to everybody else. But one of the things I was passionate about, and my wife said, you really should write write something, was about grief. And I always used to say to people, and a lot of people would laugh at me now, because I used to say, you can't heal from grief. You have to journey through it. It's a journey. And we can't heal you. And you'll probably never heal from it, but you have to journey through it. It's something that we all have to experience. And it's something that grief is a very, very important thing. And we have to allow people to grieve. And mediums have to get to the point where I am going to be able to bring the two worlds together. Excuse me, let me put that down. I don't know if that was you or me there, but it was a phone call coming in.
Thank you.
Was it me? Oh no, I need to edit that one. But I think that people need to understand that grief is not a bad thing. And that, yes, it hurts us, but a medium can't heal someone from grief. All they can do is help them to hold their hand along that journey so that they can make their steps a little bit more. That they can be helped along and be a catalyst to that person moving through that journey. And that's where I think, because I felt grief. My father passed young, and one of the greatest gifts that I ever, like you, is I experienced my father, waking me up, if you like, long after he had gone. And I think, do you ever heal from that? Have I healed from that? No. I'm very blessed that I have been given the knowledge that I have to be able to understand the two worlds. But I don't think anybody really heals from grief, Mavis. I think it's something that we all have to, it's a journey, just like mediumship is.
Yes. You just can get a scar.
Well, that's it. And you've got to be allowed to. And I think, I don't know how you feel, but I think that a lot of mediums have the wrong idea that they're trying to heal people from grief.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've never gone down that road, but I was meaning people that come to us with cancer, or like I went to the healer at the beginning. He was amazing, the healer I had many years ago, now in the spirit world. And grief, I agree, is different, but there are many types of grieving, hasn't there?
Yeah.
These people now that are losing their businesses and losing their homes and are becoming homeless, that's another type.
It's a form of grief.
There's so many different forms, and we can only just skim the surface, really.
And I think we're always going to be trying to try and study it and to understand it. I want to just jump back to a point where you were getting healing, and from your being brought up as a religious person as you were, when you went to have that spiritual healing, did you have a full faith and belief that it would work, or did you not believe in it?
No, I just went along with it, really. I'd try anything. Believe you me, I'd have tried a witch if I thought it could get. No, I didn't have a faith in it, but the guy who did the healing had faith for the two of us.
And I think that's an important. I think that's an important thing that you can give.
With the medical profession, I still had my medical treatment as well, so I kept the two. And I think because I had the two, that it worked perhaps in a far more positive way quickly. Like
a parallel. It was parallel to each other.
Yeah. And does the healer heal your emotional, mental state of mind? Because if you are in a state of where you feel you're going past the spirit world, sometimes your mental state can be awful. And I went through some terrible states with it. And even when I was on the platform, I was still having healing, and I was still having medication. And although I was out of the wood, I still had a long journey in front of me. So I stayed with this healer for a long time, but I honestly believe that he gave me, from the power of the spirit, the divine spirit, I believe he gave me peace of mind.
Right.
And he brought a peace into me. And after about 3 or 4 months, I began to look forward to going. I felt calmer. So it started off very subtle. There was I felt calmer. and then I felt more peaceful, and then I wanted to be in his presence.
Mm-hmm.
So, all in all, he again had a ministry of healing.
And that in itself is a fabulous, wonderful gift. It even more so than mediumship it's a form of mediumship. But I think to be able to be a catalyst for somebody's healing, or to help someone to understand healing like yourself, is beyond reproach. I think it's just an amazing thing to give openly, and you're a testament to the power, not only of spirit, but also of working in conjunction with modern science, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And I think that's important.
I think so. I mean, you've got to think, we're mediums, aren't we? And I believe that there's been, within the soul, we have come to do that. I believe that. We're here because that's what the soul has come to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at our scientists, and you look at our researchers into medicines, you look at our surgeons and our doctors and our physicists, all those may have come with that ability to be the humanitarian, to help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I really believe that if we could awaken people to following their soul, their destiny soul, not this soul, but this soul, then, there would be more peace on earth.
Absolutely, I think you're exactly right, and it's a shame. And we can see the problems of going from the head and not the heart at the moment in the whole world. We can see issues. You wake up in the morning and there's just more of it, and more of it. And I know, and it's an interesting thing, because I think if you're also mediumistic, or you're more connected with the spirit, I think you feel that more as well. You actually feel that you can see the things that's going on in the world, and you have an empathy to it, and you think, why it's a futile. If only they could waken up to the reality and the truth that exists, maybe we wouldn't have that. Maybe we wouldn't have the issues that we have.
I wonder how many researchers and scientists have gone on their intuition or their gut feeling to actually try something out, rather than go back to the board.
Do you know, it's brilliant. I'm glad you said that, because I've always said that everything exists through thought, and thought exists through God. So God gives us the thought, and no matter what we've invented, or no matter what man has come up with, it's always come from a divine source.
Oh, absolutely. Droplets of God.
That's it. Brilliant. But it's unfortunate that people don't seem to awaken to that idea. They don't seem to understand.
Do we talk to them enough about it?
And I think that also can possibly come down to the ministry of what we do. Can we bring that together? Because I've always, one of the things that speaking to other colleagues in our organisation, I've always maintained, look, if we're going to research and investigate more of what we do as mediums, we have to come out of the clinical process and think more of the divine aspect of what we do and the divine lessons that's there. Very difficult thing to try and get your head around and comprehend, but it's important, because I think that the problem that we have, and you're right, is too many scientists and researchers don't realise that everything is coming from little droplets of God.
Oh, wouldn't it be just lovely to put them under a microscope?
And do you think they ever would? No, I don't think they would.
Oh, no, they wouldn't. People say, you prove life after death. I say, no, I don't. But you prove I don't.
You know, I was once asked, you believe in life after death? And I turned around and said, no, I don't. Actually, I know there's life after death, which is a difference to belief,
Absolutely.
It's a knowing rather than a belief. And of course, when you say that to someone, I think I wrote it in the last article, but I think you say that to someone and they think, what do you mean? You don't believe in life after death? No, of course I don't. I've always, and another thing that I've been controversial with, which I've also said to people in the past, I don't believe in miracles. And people get really, really shocked, and they think, oh my God, that's really horrible, I think. But to me, a miracle is a natural extension of spiritual law at work. It's natural. It's what is the norm. It's just that we don't perceive it in the material world as being normal. We perceive it as existentially something that's new, something that's out of this world. But it's God's love in action. God's love in action. That's all it is. So what's for you, Mavis, for the next? What is your goals and your journey for the next few years that you're doing? What have you got planned?
To enjoy it, really. Just to enjoy the journey.
And did you ever have a point, Mavis, where you didn't enjoy it?
Oh, I don't think it'll ever come. I don't think it'll ever come. I mean, life's so exciting, isn't it? It's so exciting. You meet new people, you talk to different souls in the spirit world, you listen to different people's opinions. My goodness gracious me, it's an exciting world.
Now, people will want to know how you live your life in both realms, and I'm sure that you've had experiences that have touched the hearts of many people. But what's been one of your most funniest experiences that you've had bringing the two worlds together? What would you say that you can remember? Well, that was an absolute hoot.
Oh, I don't know. You've stumped me there. I haven't got an answer for you on that one.
Because obviously we understand that those in the spirit still have their sense of humour.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I just can't think quickly enough. Put that down to me age. I'll have to think about it. And we'll talk again.
Do you know, my wife was once given from platform and messages over, and she had said to the woman, I can't remember it, but she had said, I've got your husband coming through and he's placing his hand on your leg and he's saying that he loves you, and she turned around the congregation and she says, well, he can bloody well get his hand off because he never touched me for 20 years. So I think humour is a very important aspect of what we do as well.
Absolutely. I do agree with you. I agree with you absolutely on that one.
Now, Mavis, it's been an absolute joy to speak to you, and you've also got a book out that you want to tell people maybe about to have a look and read of your books. I'm sure they would want to do that, and we'll stick it up on the site for you. But if people want to get in touch with you for your mentorship program, what would they do?
Well, go on a waiting list. Okay, I think I've got to live till I'm 120.
Well, you're not getting off anytime soon then.
Well, Lord's a good die young, so I'm here for a long time.
A lot of work to do.
So if they get onto the website, if they just get onto the website, they should find everything they want to know.
Awesome. Okay. And we'll put your details down with the website and your details of your book and things. And
that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
It has been an absolute delight and a pleasure to connect with you, and I hope that many people who are watching this learn something as I learn, for everybody that I speak to, no matter who they are. And I feel very blessed speaking to you and sharing with you, and I'm sure everybody else will. And no doubt I look forward to meeting you and maybe seeing you over here when we finally get our centre opened in North Carolina, when we've raised enough and done enough, and you'll still be going hard at it, I guess, in that time as well.
I hope so. Well, good luck and have a wonderful time, wonderful life.
God bless.
God bless.